There's been a huge CFPB lawsuit for $100 million. Now, you may not have heard of Strategic Financial Solutions before, but you may have unknowingly signed up for a debt consolidation firm that is allegedly a façade law firm per the CFPB lawsuit. Now, if you aren't familiar, CFPB is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that is responsible for protecting consumers from financial scams. And this is huge news. CFPB just sued Strategic Financial Solutions for $100 million for running an illegal enterprise that collects fees but delivers little relief. Now, this alleged scheme is not new news to me. I have been covering these firms for a long time. So I'm elated to hear that CFPB may be cracking down. And you know what? I'm pretty sure these firms absolutely hated me for what I was writing about them. So I'm gonna share how an executive worked to smear Ascend Finance for providing these unbiased articles on one or two of these debt consolidation loan bait and switch mailers that affected so many people. And just for context, why I've been involved with these firms, my name is Ben. I'm the co-founder of Ascend Finance. I experienced the stress of debt firsthand, so we built Ascend Finance to help people get out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster through free debt calculators. These debt scams are the antithesis of what Ascend Finance is trying to help people accomplish, which is why I've been very engaged with these types of firms. But before I share my own personal story, let me share how this debt relief scam allegedly worked, and then provide the list of facade law firms to see if you've potentially been affected. Later, I'm gonna share my Netflix type drama dealing with these guys and your exact steps if you've been affected and want out of the program. Okay, so this is generally what would happen. You would get a mailer that says that you are pre-qualified for a debt consolidation loan at a rate under 4% with a potential $10,000 add-on that would reduce your current monthly payments dramatically, consolidate your debt. This would come from someone such as Patriot Funding. Check out my Google Search Console results for my Patriot Funding article. You'll see that people searching on Google for Patriot Funding saw my article an astounding 478,000 times in the last 12 months. And this is just one mailer. The most recent ones may have been Panther Lending and Golden Eagle Lending. Now, you may also be wondering how this entity got so many addresses to send these mailers to. So if you're interested in a follow-up video, please let me know, and I'd love to explain how the intricate process works. So you get one of these mailers and you decide that you want to apply. You would often apply with a representative from Strategic Financial Solutions from calling them or maybe or visiting the website. But unfortunately, you were denied for the loan, but wait, you were approved for a debt consolidation program through a law firm. What they would say is this law firm would negotiate and settle your debts for much less than owed, providing the relief you needed. Strategic Financial Solutions would send a notary to your house to sign the paperwork. Then generally you'd have one interaction with an attorney, but that may be the only interaction you have with that attorney. So I spoke with many folks affected by this, and one person I will call John got a loyal lending mailer and then applied, went through the process, and ended up with Level 1 Law, which is one of the facade firms that we'll talk about later. Now, you may be wondering why there were so many law firms listed in the lawsuit that we'll discuss later. And one hypothesis is that they have to reinvent themselves every few months with a new mailer and a new law firm because people would eventually find out what was going on. Now, because I was so obsessed with this, I was actually able to figure out when a new entity would form, such as with Panther Lending, even before they sent the mailers. So there were times I actually wrote the article about the entity before the entity actually sent out the mailers. Also, you may be wondering why there are so many law firms instead of just debt relief companies. I'd hypothesize that Strategic Financial Solutions used the law firm model because it may argue that they were a debt relief law firm, not a debt relief company, so potentially they can charge upfront fees, which is why I believe they may have went with a law firm model. And that's actually one of the major issues in this lawsuit is that is addressed is that if you look at the example fee section of one of the potential facade law firms called Boulder Legal Group, you will see how this entity front loads its fees without actually having to settle debt. Check out this example. Also, before I continue, I have a small request from you. I want to get this information to as many people as possible who have potentially been affected. So if this has been helpful or maybe helpful to someone you know, would you consider clicking the like button below my desk? It's always encouraging to me, and I've heard that YouTube likes seeing this and may show the video to others where this video could be helpful. Okay, let's talk about potential facade firms mentioned in the lawsuit. If you've been affected, you may already know given the description of the process. For example, many debt relief firms that I know of do not actually send notaries to you to sign up with a law firm. That said, here are the 25 law firms named in the lawsuit. I'll include a link to the lawsuit as well below, and also a spreadsheet in the firms just so you can look at it below. Level 1 Law, Clear Creek Legal, Meadowbrook Legal Group, Spring Legal Group, Boulder Legal Group, Anchor Law Firm, Bedrock Legal Group, Summit Law Firm, Whitestone Legal Group, Sands Law Group, Royal Legal Group, North Star Legal Group, Pioneer Law Firm, Canyon Legal Group, Rockwell Legal Group, Heartland Legal Group, Harbor Legal Group, Newport Legal Group, Great Lakes Law Firm, Gardner Legal, Option 1 Legal, Stone Point Legal Group, Carolina Legal Group, Monarch Legal Group, and Guidestone Legal Group. Okay, so now let me share my experience dealing with potentially an executive at one of these entities because of what I shared in an article. My story started when I saw an Ascend Finance Reviews article pop up questioning whether Ascend Finance was legit or a scam. I read the article on Ascend and found that much of the information was quite outdated, so I decided that we remove the information and reach out to the writer of the article, thanking them and letting them know that the information had been removed. I read the article and found out that much of the information was from much previous years of Ascend when we were doing some things differently. So we removed that outdated information and reached out to the writer of the article. That's when things got really interesting. The writer of the article put me in touch with an executive of some company that said his investors were very unhappy with me. I had no idea who this individual was, so I asked why anyone would be unhappy with me. When I had a call with this individual, he said that these investors were upset with me because of my articles covering Patriot funding and loyal lending, and that it was ultimately my business decision whether to take down the article, but that he did have authorization from the investors to write a smear campaign on Ascend Finance, resulting in 200 pieces of smear against Ascend. Now, it was a difficult decision because on one hand, Ascend is not a big company, so the thought of a huge smear campaign could really be hard on me and the company. On the other hand, I questioned how many people were being hurt by these articles and whether what they were doing was illegal because they were sending mailers that stated that you were pre-qualified for a 3.89% loan when the federal funds rate was 5 to 5.25% at the time. The federal funds rate is the rate that banks lend to other banks, so it's impossible or near impossible unless they want to take a loss for a lender to lend at that rate, because that means that banks would lose money even if you paid the debt back in full. So because I thought it was important and the articles were helping so many people, my co-founder and I decided to keep the articles up. About a month later, my coworker alerted me of some of the effects of the smear campaign, including the AscendFinanceScam.com website. Now, unfortunately, potentially with a lawsuit, the website appears to be down, but I included a couple of screenshots as it appears it still is indexed on Google if you'd like to search for it yourself. And thankfully, I don't think they did 200 pieces of scam. I could only find a small handful. Finally, let's cover what you can do if you've been affected and your options to deal with the debt now that the debt is most likely past due, behind, and you may face lawsuits and judgments. Now, I recently read an article covering that some strategic financial solutions employees may be allowed back on the job, and I'm wondering if this is related to servicing the thousands of clients affected in the facade law firm relationships. So there may be people still working in your accounts. That said, if you like to cancel, I actually found the cancellation information from the Boulder Legal Group contract that I wanted to share. I'll also work to add a link in the description where you can access this if it's helpful. Now, this contract may be different than the contract that you have, but it also may be very similar. Firstly, you'll notice that you may have to fill out the notice of right to cancel form. It seems that you have to mail it, but I'm wondering if you could email or fax this. Second, You may want to look at the fees section, as it appears they may try to take their fees and you may have signed off on that. Now, if they don't cancel over the phone or allow you to send an email, you may also want to speak with your bank to see about whether you can do anything before the next draft. Lastly, you might be wondering what you can do with the debt now that's behind, and you may have already or face lawsuits or judgments against you. Now, this is where I may be able to help. If you'd like to chat with me or someone on the team in a complimentary call, please give me a call or a text at 833-272-3631, and either me or someone on my team can chat with you about your situation in a 100% complimentary call. Now, if you don't want to chat with someone, which I totally understand, you can also take one of our free debt relief options calculator that helps you compare the cost and duration of such options as nonprofit credit counseling, bankruptcy, etc. Also, these calculators don't require an email address so that you can hopefully see information without having to commit to anything or do anything. We just want you to be able to get access to information easily. Also, please comment below if you have any questions or anything whatsoever about your situation. Thanks so much for watching and hope you have a wonderful day.